right, welcome everybody to session 2 today. I hope everyone's starting to warm back up again after the party last night. My name's Marcus. Really excited to introduce Dan and Ryan, who are going to be talking about APIs, something that was a bit of a highlight of the keynote, a sort of a fairly major topic, but talking about how they can be using them for security with Jamf. So welcome to the stage, folks.
Okay. Thank you, Marcus. Yay. Ooh. Okay. This is what a sold-out room looks like here. Okay. It's my first session here, so I'm going to get used to clicking this along. Some forward-looking stuff. I don't think a lot of the stuff we're talking about today has existed for a long time. I guess we're just publicly talking about it now, and hopefully there's room for discussion about what we've done, why we did it this way, and then maybe what's coming later. So there is some forward-looking stuff at the end.
Oh, yeah.
Some stuff that we think we might be doing with it as well. So while we're here, the doors are shut, but if you need to leave because you're in the wrong session, that's fine. We're going to be talking about the automation of the Jamf Security Platform. So that includes Jamf Security Cloud and the Protect, correct, the Jamf Protect side of things. So if you're sort of like, well, I'm not using those, we're also going to be talking about the techniques we used to automate them as well. So you might find it useful even if you're not using Jamf Security Cloud and Protect. And spoiler alert, what we're going to be talking about near the end of this session is folding all of that into more of a generic way to handle all your configuration of Jamf and maybe other security solutions that you're using in your organization as well. So I'm Dan, you already knew that. Ryan, I'm based out of San Francisco. Ryan, you're in Ohio. And we, in our day jobs, we do sales engineering for our named account teams. And so that's our enterprise customers and their requirements and so forth. But what we have been finding in the last year or so is that the burden of managing not just their Jamf configuration, but all of the IT assets that they've got, all of the different solutions that they're managing is somewhat overwhelming. And sometimes we sort of overlook that at a user conference here, where we want to show you all of our portals and all of our nested configurations and so on. But then you go back again, and we're one of many different solutions that you might have to manage. So we've been working on other options in terms of being able to help automate that. And in fact, one of our customers out of Europe came to us a couple of years ago with Terraform. That's the buzzword that we're using a lot with these automation sessions. And so that's what we lent into. So it wasn't necessarily that we went out there and did due diligence in terms of which configuration automation system we should use. I know there's a ton of us, Ansible, Chef, Puppet, or just using your own middleware, and we've got customers doing that. But because Terraform is somewhat popular in that regard, and also because it forces you to be open source when you publish a provider or modules, we're finding now not only can you just put your own eyes on the source code, but now you can just agentically have AI go, hey, there's this Go language. Do you mind looking at that and converting it into Python for me? Or do you mind doing something with Puppet? And once somebody has already sort of codified an automation technique in one language, it's fairly easy now to sort of move things around, we found, and moving them to different SDKs and so on. So agenda-wise, first of all, we're going to be talking about the APIs that do exist. Well, we've also got the platform API as well. And so there was a session just before this one at 9 o'clock. These are all being recorded, luckily, so if you didn't catch that one. We have the platform API. So, the problem with Jamf is we've got lots of different APIs. Hey, we've got one more API, but this is the last API we're going to be doing. Today, the platform API has blueprints and the new compliance baseline things, and as well as device inventory. We do expect more and more APIs to be mirrored over to the platform API. So, so that's going to be some work in progress. That's a forward-looking statement. But the rest of this session, I think we're going to be talking about the existing APIs that already exist. Some of them are documented, some of them not so much, but they're all public and they're all accessible for anyone to use, and that's what we'll be talking about. And then Ryan's going to be going into a bit more detail about how we reverse engineered the API. I mean, reverse engineering sounds like a scary thing, but we did it all in a clean room, right? And we want to go through some of the techniques that we did about API discovery and understanding when you're doing something in a GUI, is it possible to also use that technique and do something using script and code as well? Okay, where are we from slides?
Yeah, a couple builds there. There you go.
There were builds. Okay, cool. All right, so where we are with the current API. So here's some screenshots from developer.jamf.com. That got a bit of a refresh this week, I think.
I think it launched officially Friday.
Okay.
Yeah.
So developer.jamf.com, for a long time, that's where I would go, and straight away it's pointing me to Postman collections, and it's telling me about bearer token recipes and so on. That's still in there, but we've refreshed some of the documentation to be clear about where our API documentation sits from an endpoint point of view. So of course, we've got this new platform API, but Classic and Pro, they're still there. They're still going to be around for the foreseeable future. And then we've also got APIs for Protect. Show of hands who likes GraphQL, because that's what Protect uses. Oh, I see a hand,
Got
okay.
one.
So it's one out of many, so great. So Protect uses GraphQL, and then Jamf Security Cloud has 3 different types of APIs that it uses. I would say these are more modern APIs in terms of the schema is a bit more clearly defined than something like Classic, JSON, one bearer token that you send back and forth. When we looked at doing automation though, the challenge with Protect's GraphQL, as well as the Jamf Security Cloud Risk API and so forth, is that they're more there for workflows. So it's GraphQL, that's used for, Facebook, I think, came up with GraphQL. So you can think of it as a way of moving information around, huge blobs of information. So it's great for sort of querying what's going on with your existing device fleet. But we wanted to look at bootstrapping the configuration of instances and configuration ongoing. And it doesn't lend itself all that well to that. So we do use a couple of the publicly documented risk APIs. And of course, the GraphQL, you can actually introspect everything that's available in GraphQL. But we found quite early on that we actually needed to go and clean room and discover additional APIs that were public, but just were not documented on developer.jamf.com. And I think that's where you come in next, Ryan. So I'll let you click on this one.
Absolutely. So like Dan said, we wanted a way where we could find ways to automate the configuration of Security Cloud specifically and Protect. And you just, so we needed to kind of pull everything apart. So this might be helpful if you're using a service today that doesn't have a documented API and you want to maybe turn it into Terraform or build a provider that could actually accomplish a task for you. What we started doing was just basically looking at the responses that happen when you're clicking through certain scenarios. So we were able to piece together, a lot of you probably already know, how a lot of this is going to function, right? So we were able to piece together all the different requests, the different put requests, get requests, everything that we needed to actually accomplish the tasks that we wanted. As Dan said, the API that existed prior was more about workflows. It was elevating risk. It was dealing with like things back and forth between products, which is great. But it doesn't help you set up, and if anybody's played with Security Cloud before, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, we'd be happy to talk about that. But in Security Cloud, you build an activation profile, and that enables everything, right? So that's going to have our ZTNA functionality. It's going to have our content control functionality and our network security functionality. All of that rolled into one activation profile deployed to a fleet. Easy enough, but there wasn't a way to configure that in an automated fashion. So we started to piece it apart and actually run through the workflows, figure out exactly what was happening, what was being sent, what was required, what wasn't, and we started to work on a Go-based provider for Terraform to do it. If anybody attended the session yesterday, 9 a.m. yesterday, that happened to be in this one as well, that was a lot of what we did to get to Security Cloud and be able to accomplish those tasks all comes from this. So what did we start to do with that? Well, we built our entire provider based on this. So that QR code, it is safe, I promise. I promise. But if you don't want to scan it, that's okay, because the link's right there. So you can type it directly in if you'd like. Now the whole idea here is that we just wanted a way to accomplish the tasks that we wanted to accomplish. There's a lot more inside of Security Cloud that you can do, and we're hoping to lean into platform APIs when we get to that point. So But this is kind of where we started, where we really kicked off.
I mean, maybe show of hands who's done a bash script before.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, and then keep your hand up if you've done Golang. Okay, so still quite a few. So we hadn't touched it before. No. And so Go is what's required for Terraform. So it's extremely performant, way more performant than what we need it to do, because we're doing, like 1 API request a second, even with complicated infrastructure calls. I guess it's humbling to know that, though, because the other Terraform providers that might be required for your workflow, you might be configuring Okta, CrowdStrike, Zscaler alongside what you're doing with Jamf. So knowing that they're all in Golang is great. And that's also where AI helped us, right? It's just like, rather than us having to learn how to actually be Go developers, we're just like, look, here is the API call that I want to happen, and can AI help me do a for loop or whatever the Go equivalent is. So yeah, I mean, it's open source. If you have a look at it, you'll see some of it's fairly vibed out, but it works. But we welcome pull requests and edits and comments as well, and what's going on with that.
And at the end here, we'll have a link to our Terraform registry page that has all of this on there. And as we publish new things, it'll be there too. So yeah, to Dan's point, please, like if you see something you want to contribute, or if there's functionality we haven't built yet, happy to deal with that. So, but let's actually see it in action. So if anybody hasn't played with Security Cloud, this is what it looks like. But we're just going to walk through what it looks like to actually build this out using Terraform. And because this is a little bit more of a technical talk, we're actually going to show kind of the full life cycle. You can not only create everything, but you can also destroy, update everything. So let's start with access policies. So access policies are a critical part of ZTNA and network relay. This is how we determine what is being routed and where, right? So we wanted a way to automate building these. So we'll see that in a minute. Activation profiles, I have one here, but not everything's lit up. It's just got content filtering and security in it. And then if we flip over to Pro, we can see there are a couple configuration profiles, but they're PSSO testing stuff, not related to this. Same thing for mobile devices as well. Really nothing in here to speak of. So then if we flip back over to Security Cloud, we can actually bring up our Terraform here. I'm just going to run it in terminal, nice and simple. If you guys were here for the talk yesterday, this probably looks pretty familiar. So this is going to look at my environment, and it's going to look at the things that I have told Terraform I want to build. It's going to compare the two, and then it's going to give me an output. So here at the end, we're going to see how many things it wants to add, how many things it wants to destroy, change, all of that. So you can see 37 things to add. I'm going to confirm that here automatically, or well, manually, but you can do it automatically. So if you were to build this into like a GitOps workflow or anything along those lines, you can just basically auto-approve it, which is pretty incredible. Then we're going to build everything out. So this is doing all the things that we need to make Security Cloud operate. And in that amount of time, we've got everything built. So we can flip back over, and we can see now that there is, I think, wait for the refresh. We'll be able to see now that there is a new access policy or an activation profile with everything needed in it. We're really concerned with the details here, right? So we've already got Okta built out. We did that all within there. We built out the Okta identity provider piece. We selected all the things that we wanted for deployment. And then if we flip back over, you can actually see we've got all the profiles, everything's ready. Now, normally, you'd have to download these or click a button to deploy them to Jamf Pro. So we can make it sort of simple. But instead, we're able to actually do it all automatically. Here's all the access policies that were built. These are the pre-made access policies that we include as part of Security Cloud. So like if we look at Microsoft 365 and all the host names that exist, you don't want to have to know all of those, so we do it for you. Some of them are simpler. Microsoft is a pretty extensive list. And then we can see over in Jamf Pro, we automatically grabbed those configuration profiles. So the one for macOS, we grabbed it with all of its payloads, did that dynamically on the fly, just basically pulled it directly out of Security Cloud, jumped it right into Jamf Pro. Everything's here, it's ready to be deployed. All we have to do is scope it. Same thing for mobile devices, the entire payload, everything is ready to go. So if we have a smart group we want to deploy to, we would just do that next, and we're good to go. People sign in with their Okta in this case, and it would be ready. Now, I can flip back, and here in a second, we can bring up terminal. We can actually run through the process of just removing all of it. So this is the power of Terraform, is it gives you the ability to fully control everything about your instance. So even if I made a minor change, I would actually be able to just reapply this. It would make that change. Everything would update automatically and dynamically. So here we're just going to say we want to set everything back to 0. This is great for like those test instance scenarios. Like when we were building this clean room type of way of approaching this, we were doing this just constantly. Like, okay, let's build it, let's see how it functions, and then let's tear it all down and make sure that everything works appropriately. So there we go, we've got everything destroyed. We can go back to that same activation profile view. We're back to just that content filtering only policy. We're back to no access policies at all, so nothing's there. If we flip back to Pro, navigate to the configuration profiles view, again, everything gone. It's pretty incredible. It is actually a very powerful tool. So if you've used things like this, you already know it, but if you haven't, this is pretty awesome. It's pretty revolutionary. Instead of clicking around, going through all the different GUI elements, you're able to just do this all dynamically.
And Ryan, so you mentioned Okta.
Yeah.
So there's more providers than one being used in that run?
We're not building, so we could.
Okay.
But in that particular one, that Okta identity provider integration was supplied as a variable to the module. Now that said, technically Okta has a provider. We could have in this same workflow very easily, and we've tested it before, we could have just gone to Okta, made the application, passed the client information back over into a variable and done all of that on the fly. So you could quite literally have set all of this up. The other really amazing thing that you can do in Security Cloud is setting up access gateways into like AWS or on-prem services. So you can actually also automate building that in AWS through their provider, because that's kind of what Terraform was really there for originally. You can automate that build, pass that information back, and do everything in one go. The complexity there would have taken a little bit longer for that to run through, so that's not here, but it's all possible. And great thing about Terraform is you can use as many providers as you need, and Terraform understands what to do with that information.
Yeah, like the burden of ClickOps, if you're in one product, one console, it's useful, yeah. But sometimes when you're ideating, you can just explore and experiment. So obviously there's a production use case here, but for experimentation, sometimes that's not necessary. But what you mentioned about AWS, or maybe you're doing something with Palo Alto, whatever your use case is, if you have to configure an IPsec tunnel or some other type of integration, it's such a burden. And it's almost quicker to take a module or to write your own module and to just have it being automated rather than trying to work out why an IPsec cipher isn't working on one side or the other, and just do it that way. But you're right, it does that. Those do take about 20 minutes or so to run.
It does.
Because you're actually waiting for infrastructure to spin up. Yeah.
And I didn't want to have an artificially sped up video.
Yeah.
I wanted it to be real time. But yeah, I mean, it's all doable. And even when we start to move into, platform APIs, even when we start to move into this, we're going to be able to kind of dual wield here. So we'll be able to have our Jamf Pro APIs, Jamf Security Cloud, Jamf Protect, everything kind of operating at the same time, and you can adopt the platform API as features come out. So you may have heard in the main keynote, and if you attended the session at 9 o'clock this morning, you probably heard a little bit about it. We talked about it yesterday in our session. We already have a platform provider in Terraform for the platform API, so it's already there. It already supports what's possible today as well, and it will support everything as it goes forward. So as new features hit, we're getting those into that provider automatically. So you could actually mix and match. And then eventually, it'll be really great when that provider block in the code, it just goes down to 1 and it can do everything. So that's the future dream that we're all looking forward to. But yeah, this is the biggest thing, right? Because we have all these different APIs. Dan mentioned it. The whole goal here is to have that better support strategy. It's to have the simpler code, and it's to have more control over everything. Like we said here, we kind of had to reverse engineer an API to get this provider to work, which you could do too if you wanted to, if you have something that you need that for. But we don't want to have to do that forever. We want to be able to just tie it into everything. One endpoint to rule them all, one bearer token to rule them all, and just be able to do all the tasks that we need to accomplish. And clicker, there it goes, cool. Now this is our landing page on the Terraform registry. So if you're dealing with Terraform, I mentioned this yesterday too, the registry is a great place to go. The documentation, the way it's formatted is fantastic. Each vendor of something inside of Terraform, so if you've published a provider, if you've published modules that you can see down there on the bottom, If you've published anything along those lines, it'll actually show up under your same heading. So you'll be able to find this for all these different providers, companies, whatever they may have published, Okta, for example. But you can see the 3 that we've published so far, which is the Jamf Security Cloud Terraform provider, the Jamf Platform one, that's for the platform APIs, and then you've got the auto update one, and that's more for our Jamf Insights, what used to be data jar side of the house. But yeah, we're always working to add something new and something more to this over time.
Yeah, we're not very good at naming things at Jamf. So Protect is inside the Jamf Security Cloud Terraform provider. There's a few endpoints there, but as you said, I'm hoping that we're going to slide across functionality where it makes sense, and we're going to have maybe one provider from us and one set of modules for various different outcomes and use cases. You're still maybe going to be using different Terraform providers, not least because I think we've got a slide next to talk about other ones that are available for Jamf. But again, Terraform by itself sometimes doesn't make sense just for one vendor. I mean, it's cool, but I'm not aware of any customers who are adopting us just for Jamf. It's more like, great, now I can use this alongside the other interdependencies that I have. And anyway, yeah, Ryan, we've got the deployment theory one as well on here.
So this is another major part of what we've been building with. So deployment theory, out of Lloyd's banking group, they were able to start working on this. And Lloyd's let them, they let them actually build this all out and get it out there into the community, which is an incredible thing that they were allowed to do. So we've been really working with them pretty consistently. We have a fortnightly call with them to just kind of make sure that we know where they're at. They give us feedback about our APIs. We give them feedback about how the provider's built out. It's actually a really great working relationship. But yeah, going forward into the platform APIs, that is a provider that is wholly owned and built by Jamf, at least at this point.
Yeah, and Lloyd's, again, we rode their coattails on what they did over the last couple of years, and also some other community members have been contributing to that pro provider. Lloyd's themselves are not Jamf Security Cloud nor Protect users, so that's where we helped out close that gap a little bit. And what we've been hearing from not just Lloyd's themselves as well is like, wouldn't it be nice if Jamf formally was to adopt and support some of these providers? And so that's what we're trying to do with the platform one. But it's just this balancing act of making sure that we can continue to support and maintain the existing pro provider from deployment theory, aka Lloyd's banking group, because we actually use that a lot internally for our workflows. So when we onboard net new customers, we're running through this. I mean, your session the other day talked about the GitHub workflows that we have that actually catches drift in API configuration, because we've got this running every 12 hours with hundreds of resources across all the different Jamf platform. So, I mean, that's just the state of play where we're at today. We love Terraform. We use it a lot day to day. We're evangelizing it like we are here and with our customers. But it is a little bit complicated in terms of the number of providers that we have at Jamf, the number of modules. I mean, it's really a reflection of where we're at with our API ecosystem today. But as you've been hearing, hopefully a lot of this conference, we're hoping to harmonize that a little bit more in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Cool. So yeah, kind of a quick talk, but it gives us a lot of time for Q&A, which this being a technical talk, we hope there's some great questions, but I'll hand it off to Marcus.
Yeah, all right. Questions? Who wants to be first? Come on. Yep. Right. Okay, I think you've done a fantastic job of covering everything, so big round of applause.
Nice.
Thanks. Thank you. And we'll stay here at the front or at the back for the next half hour or so if anyone wants to come up. But yeah, okay. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.